You are sitting in a quiet room staring at a screen. Nothing is happening. The loading icon spins in a slow, hypnotic circle, and a familiar, restless irritation begins to crawl beneath your skin. You reach for your phone. Why does this empty moment feel so unbearable? You live in a world of infinite options. You can summon any song or watch any movie in a fraction of a second. The entire sum of human knowledge and creativity rests in the palm of your hand. Yet you are still bored. Why does this quiet agony persist despite our abundance? It goes back to a time when there were no screens. There were no clocks. The daily struggle for survival actually left massive gaps of empty, unstructured time that had to be filled by human ingenuity. There were no jobs? How did your ancestors survive the silent hours of the Pleistocene? Imagine standing on the African savanna 70,000 years ago. The sun is high. The dry wind sweeps across the vast golden grass, carrying the scent of dust and distant rain. The day's work is already done. What do you do now? You have mended your hunting tools. The water skins are full. Your tribe has already gathered enough food to last until tomorrow morning, leaving you with absolutely nothing to do. The afternoon stretches ahead. How will you fill the next 8 hours of empty daylight? We often picture our ancestors as desperate survivors. We imagine them running from predators. We think they spent every waking second fighting against the harsh, unforgiving forces of nature. But this is a historical lie. Why does our modern culture cling to this myth of constant struggle? Consider the work of anthropologist Marshall Solins. He studied hunter-gatherer societies. He discovered that these ancient communities spent only 3 to 5 hours a day securing their basic survival needs. They did not have bills. How did they handle the remaining hours of the day? Your ancestors faced a mountain of unstructured silence. They did not have novels. Without any books, games, or digital devices, the raw landscape was their only entertainment. They sat in the shade. Did they feel the same itch that you feel when your internet connection drops? The answer is yes. Boredom is not a modern disease. It is an ancient biological mechanism that kept your ancestors alive and drove them to conquer the globe. Neuroscientist Dr. James Dankert has spent years studying this feeling. What happens when your brain detects this quiet alarm? Dankert describes boredom as an alarm. It is a warning. It tells you that you are wasting your limited cognitive energy on a useless task that does not benefit your survival. You feel a creeping sense of frustration. Why did evolution build such a painful warning system? An animal that is content doing nothing will stay still. It does not explore. It will sit in one place until the local food supply is completely exhausted and the water dries up. It does not learn. Did this restless itch save humans from extinction? The bored creature is driven to change its state. It moves. It looks at a common stone and wonders if it could be chipped into a sharper, more lethal shape. It seeks new horizons. What if our intelligence is just the byproduct of prehistoric boredom? But boredom was also a social danger. Silence bred tension. When a small tribe of 30 people sits together with nothing to do, tiny annoyances can quickly grow into major conflicts. Peace was fragile. How did they keep the tribe from tearing itself to pieces? They used their voices. They found a new way to groom. Evolutionary psychologist Dr. Robin Dunbar discovered that monkeys maintain social bonds through constant physical contact. This is grooming. How did humans scale this up without spending all day picking bugs out of fur? Physical grooming has natural limits. It is slow. When the group grows past a certain size, the animal simply cannot keep up with the physical demands of grooming everyone. The tribe splits. How could humans build larger societies? Dunbar argued that language evolved to solve this. It was vocal grooming. Instead of picking lice, your ancestors sat in the shade and used words to bind themselves together in a shared social net. They talked. Did you know that the earliest speech was likely just prehistoric gossip? They talked about who was lazy. They shared secrets. They gossiped about who was sleeping with whom, creating a complex map of social alliances and betrayals. This chatter was the glue of the community. Is that why you still care so much about what celebrities are doing? Gossip kept you alive. It was survival. Sitting around doing nothing was actually the perfect time to build your social network and secure your place in the tribe. It was the birth of politics. Why does your modern brain still
You
seek
open a
this
feed,
vocal grooming? You are checking to see who is winning and who is losing in a digital game of status and social posturing. You are seeking vocal grooming. How did this behavior change when the sun went down? The setting sun changed the rules. The light faded. In the dark, the tribe could no longer hunt, gather, or work on their physical tools. The day was extended by fire. How did the invention of controlled fire transform their empty hours? Dr. Polly Wiesner studied the Jew/Honsi Bushmen. She recorded their conversations. She wanted to compare what they talked about during the day to what they talked about at night. The difference was staggering. What did she discover about the magic of the campfire? Daytime talk was entirely practical. They discussed work. They complained about the heat and debated exactly where to find the next meal in the dry desert sand. They argued about resources. Why did the darkness change their minds? The sun set. The campfire was lit. The flickering flames drew everyone into a tight, warm circle that shut out the dangers of the wild night. The workday ended. What happened to their conversations in the dark? Wiesner found that night conversations became stories. They sang songs. They talked about their ancestors and explained the movements of the stars across the dark sky. They shared mythologies. Did they realize they were inventing human history? Stories were survival guides. They preserved history. A tale about a hunter escaping a lion taught children how to react in a moment of panic and danger. They passed down information. Why did these stories hold their attention so deeply? Stories saved lives. They mapped the world. A tale about a drought 50 years ago taught the young where to find water when the rivers dried up. They did not just kill time. How did they turn these stories into physical art? Modern neuroscience offers a clue. The brain never rests. When you are not focused on a specific task, your mind automatically enters the default mode network. This is the creative laboratory. What happens when we deny our brains this resting state? Sometimes, stories were not enough. The rain fell. A cold storm could keep the tribe trapped inside a dark cave for days on end with no hope of hunting. The itch of boredom returned. How did they survive this forced confinement? They played with objects. They picked up bones. They found soft stones and began to scratch patterns into the rock to keep their minds active. They carved. Did they know they were inventing the first technologies? Consider the ostrich eggshell beads. Archaeologists find them everywhere. Early humans spent hundreds of hours drilling tiny holes into fragile shells to make necklaces. These objects had no survival value. Why did they waste their time on ornaments? The beads were not just decorations. They were communication. They told strangers who you were, what tribe you belonged to, and how much status you held in the social hierarchy. They were silent speech. Could boredom have driven the birth of human fashion? They did it to quiet the mind. It was focus. When the weather was bad or the day was done, carving was a way to ground the brain. It was prehistoric doodling. Does this sound like your modern habits? You doodle during meetings. You tap your pen. You fidget with small objects on your desk when you are trying to concentrate. Your brain needs this physical play. What did this ancient play lead to? They also made music. Archaeologists discovered ancient flutes. A flute carved from a cave bear femur shows that early humans spent hours tuning instruments and creating melodies. They filled the silence with sound. How did music help bind their communities together? They also made allies. Think about the wolves. During long periods of quiet camp life, humans began sharing scraps of food with the curious predators lingering at the edge of the firelight. They played together. Could the very first dog have been domesticated simply because a bored human wanted a companion? This connection changed our history. Wolves became guardians. They hunted alongside humans, slept in their caves, and helped protect the campsite from larger, more dangerous predators. They shared the downtime. Why did this partnership become the most successful alliance in animal history? Early humans also invented toys. Children needed activity. Archaeologists have discovered miniature clay pots and small stone figurines that were made specifically for little hands to hold. These were early toys. How did this childhood play prepare the next generation for the trials of the adult world? Play was a simulation. It was practice. Through playing with miniature tools, children learned how to hunt, sew clothes, and build shelters without the real-world danger of failure? They copied the adults. Is play the secret engine of human intelligence? Play drove innovation. It was a laboratory. The same carving skills used to make decorative beads were eventually applied to crafting lethal spearheads and sharp harpoons. Fidgeting led to engineering. Would we have modern technology without this ancient downtime? Do not see desperate beasts. See creative thinkers. They conquered the silence of the ancient world by building the foundations of human culture. They created language, stories, and art. Did they build this world just to escape their own minds? Now, look at your own life. Boredom is gone. You have filled every single second of empty, quiet downtime with the glowing light of a digital screen. You scroll while waiting for a bus. Have you lost something in this exchange? Your brain needs quiet. It needs the itch. When you fill every gap with noise, you shut down the ancient alarm system that drives exploration. You do not reflect. How can you create if you never let your mind wander? You consume instead of creating. You seek fake connections. You replace the warm campfire story with a 15-second clip of a stranger dancing. Your ancestors built language from silence. What are you doing with yours? Next time, do not scroll. Let the irritation build. Allow your thoughts to wander into the empty spaces of your mind. Let the silence settle around you. After all, aren't you just sitting in a room staring at a screen?